Today we're going to be doing an upper body workout, and we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So in the chat, there is a poll for what exercise you want for the final exercise to be. Do we want to work on deltoids or biceps? So if you like this concept, if you're coming here after we've been live, go ahead and hit that like button for me. It helps support the channel and lets me know that you want to be part of deciding what workouts we're doing and you like this idea. You want to be in control. So if that's you, go ahead and hit that like button for me. Thank you so much. So what we're going to do today is an upper body workout. We're going to start with compound movements, working the chest and back, and then we'll move into an isolation movement, and that's either going to be deltoids or biceps. So get in your votes now before we get to that point in the workout. So I'm going to start out with a warm-up, and we're doing bench press and supported rows, or not supported row, sorry, bench row. I really like the bench row. I did it on Wednesday, and it really lets you fully extend that, or stretch that lat in such a great way. I find it to be a really effective lat exercise, which is the muscle that runs along your rib cage down into here. So we're gonna start with a warm up. And for that, I'm gonna be using a slightly lighter dumbbell, just getting blood flow into the muscles. So I'm going down to about 75% of what I would normally do. So down 10 pounds. I usually use a 40-pound dumbbell per hand. I'm starting with a 30-pound, going into a bench press or a chest press. Let me know what you've heard this called. Either is, I believe, accurate, but a dumbbell bench press. So having your hands right over the top of your shoulders, you're going to bend your elbow, bring your hands a little bit wider than your chest. So you don't want your hands in close to your chest. You want them a little bit wider than your chest level. And that's gonna put a lot of tension on your chest muscle as you go down. You keep that pressure on the chest the whole time. So I'm doing about 10 of these, getting warmed up, just smoothly through the motion, all the way down to my chest and then back up. I'm tapping that dumbbell to my chest and then going back up, pressing up. This is working the chest muscles, the tricep, and the front of the shoulder in what's called the anterior deltoid, which is the front deltoid. Now when I'm doing this, I'm trying to pinch my shoulder blades together to give my body a firm foundation for doing chest press. I'm gonna set one dumbbell to the side and go straight into a bench supported row. So doing a bench row, I'm gonna let my hand hang all the way down, and that gets that stretch in the lats that I'm talking about. And that's gonna produce high tension in the lats, which also leads to higher growth in the lats. So muscles grow when they're under tension. That's why we wanna really extend out as far as we can, almost touching the ground, and then pull up. So my hand is right underneath my shoulder. I can look up to keep my back straight. I want to almost touch the ground, going back down, then bending my elbows, pulling up, or bending my elbow, pulling up to my rib cage. And same thing on the other side. Hand right underneath my shoulder, looking up to keep my back straight, going down to the ground, pulling up to the rib cage. and 10. So I always like to start with a warm-up set of the exercises I'm gonna be doing. Then I move into what's called a working set, where I bump up the weight to my normal weight, what's challenging in the exercise. Now, if you don't know what that is for you, I would start lighter than you think and work your way up. So it could take a couple sets to figure out where that is the first time. But once you find that number, say you realize it's 30 pounds or 40 pounds or 50 pounds, that's a challenging weight for you by 10 reps, then you can know that's your number and you could even write that down for that exercise to keep track of it. And that way you know what is going to not only grow you, what weight you need to be going for, but also you can see your progress over time. Because what might be challenging in week 1, a couple months down the road, is not challenging enough anymore. You are going up to the next dumbbell. So it's a great idea to start by writing the numbers down, because it's easy to lose track of, oh man, have I really even grown? But you can look back on that and say, wow, I used to be able to only do this amount, now I can do a larger amount. So you don't have to track it, but sometimes it can be a really good idea because it's so easy to lose track of the progress that we make. So going back into a bench press with dumbbells, dumbbell bench. So I've upped the weight on this now to my full working weight. I'm gonna try for about 10 reps. So I'm starting shoulder blades pinched together, hands right over the top of my shoulders. I'm gonna bend my elbows, keeping my hands wide at elbow width, going down to my chest and back up. Feel this across my chest. Going for about 10, should feel that burning right about now. I'm gonna try one more. And relax. And setting one dumbbell down. I try and keep the same weight between the two of these. If you need to adjust the dumbbell between, that's totally fine. I just find they're about the same on these exercises. So that's really good because we can be more time efficient with the workout. Should be looking up on this one so my back stays straight. Going all the way to the ground. And switching sides. So this is a bench row. So one hand on the bench to support my upper body, and the other hand is the working hand. And relax. So I prefer that exercise rather than doing two-handed, because if I do two-handed, I can't get the full extension on both. I can only go to about here. I can't do the full reach. because this hand, if it's reaching forward, this hand loses that extension. So really you can only pick one or the other to work at a time. So that's why I like doing a single hand to really get that full movement in that stretch of the lat. So you get that muscle really has to go all the way. If you imagine that muscle between my hands is, instead of going only this distance, it has to go that extra couple inches that can make all the difference for the tension on that muscle. I'm gonna try pull-ups in just a minute. I'll show you that same concept in a pull-up as well. So today, we are only gonna do 2 sets on most of these exercises until we get to the end. That bonus exercise, we're gonna try for a higher number of sets in that to really get everything we can out of either the deltoid or the bicep to really emphasize those. So once we get to that point, if there's a tie, I'm gonna decide, but if you have a particular muscle you wanna see in the workout, let me know in that poll. So one more set on these exercises. So, arching my back, pinching my shoulder blades together, hands right over the top of my shoulders, going down, tapping the chest, and pushing out. Last one, and that's 10. And relax. All right, setting the one dumbbell down, going straight into rows. This is called a superset, where we're doing complementary muscles. So we're doing the pushing muscles with the chest press or the bench press, and pulling muscles with the row. So working opposite sides of the movement. So looking up, keeping my back straight, pulling up to the back, all the way down to nearly touching the ground. Don't set the weight completely down. To change my grip. And same thing on the other side. So hand right underneath my shoulder, looking up to keep my back straight, pulling up to my rib cage. And relax. All right, so we're gonna move into our second grouping of exercises. Still gonna be doing compound movements, working a lot of muscles all at once in the upper body. So, we just worked pushing and pulling this way. Now we're gonna work pushing and pulling in the vertical. So it's a slightly different set of muscle fibers. Excuse me. So, for the first one, we're gonna do an overhead press. I'm gonna go a little lighter on this. So, hands start shoulder width. I'm gonna look up towards the ceiling, press up towards the ceiling, and then back down all the way to my shoulders. Trying to straighten my elbows out. Don't let the hands come together. Keep them right over the top of the shoulders and back down. Now that's a trick with the dumbbells, is nothing's stopping you from coming together. So you have to try and keep them wide so they don't tap together. And relax. All right, so we just did pushing upwards. Now we're gonna do pulling downwards. Now this is a little hard to do with a dumbbell exercise, so I like to use a power band for doing pull-ups. So, just attach this in the middle. Make sure that's tight. This is actually an assistive exercise. So the heavier the band, the more assistance you're getting on this exercise. That's one thing I really like about the resistance bands, is you can use them to assist or to provide resistance. So they're a bit more versatile than the dumbbells. Dumbbells are great. Resistance bands are great also, just for different things. So I'm gonna put my knee in the middle of the band, grabbing about shoulder width. And now on this one, I'm going to go from a full hang. So that's the point where I'm under highest tension. So I don't wanna start right here where I'm already up a bit. I'm gonna start all the way down here at a full hang where there's the most tension on my lats. So from here, I'm gonna pull up to my forehead and then back down to a full hang. Feel that tension on your lats as you do it. Try and go for 10 of these. And last one, 10. Now, it's important, even if you can't get your forehead all the way up to where you're up at the top, the important part is to still go all the way out to straight for that maximum tension on your arms, especially as you get more tired. It can be harder to get all the way up to where the bar is at your throat or chest. Try and get it to your forehead each time, or as close as you can, and return back to that full hanging position to really build those lats. So I'm gonna do one more set each side, then we're going into our bonus exercise. Just letting my heart rate come back down a little bit. So we're doing 2 sets of each of these. I'd like to shoot for higher sets on our bonus exercise because I picked smaller muscles for those that recover faster. So because of that, I can go higher volume and it takes less energy for those to recover. And deltoid bicep, I think are a little bit weaker for me as far as muscle size. So I'd like to increase those. And if that sounds good to you, hit that like button for me. If you also are looking to grow your deltoids or grow your biceps, Just letting my heart rate come back down. It's a little warm today. Should have had more water in this bottle. Sometimes when you take cold water and put it on your palms, it can actually help drop your heart rate back down, cool off your body, and it helps with that heat. It's very easy for me to overheat while working out. I've always run pretty hot, so I deal very well with cold weather, not as well with hot weather. How about you guys? Do you find that you overheat during a workout more often? Or is that pretty easy to deal with? So, doing an overhead press, looking up towards the ceiling, pushing up, trying to keep the dumbbells right over the top of your shoulders. All the way back down to your shoulders, tap, and then back up. This is working the tricep, the traps, the deltoids, and some of the upper chest. And relax. All right, one more set of pull-ups, and then we're going into our bonus exercise for our isolation movement. And that means we're working for all these exercises have been compound movements, where we're working a lot of muscles all at once. Now we're going to be moving into an isolation workout, where we're working more or less one muscle as opposed to a grouping of muscles. So one muscle at a time, trying to really hone in on either the biceps or the deltoid. So you guys decide, what is our last work exercise gonna be? What is our last workout set? Before that though, I gotta get through pull-ups. So putting the band in the knee, or knee in the band. Now, if I'm like this, it's a chin up. If I'm like this, with my hand facing out, it's a pull-up. Some people call this a supinated grip pull-up, but whatever you call it, the same concepts apply to both. So going to that full hang, hands right over the top of your shoulders, pulling up to your forehead, and then back down to that full hang. Trying for about 10 reps of this. That's as far as I go today. So if you ever get to a workout and there's nothing more for the muscle to give, that's actually okay. That means you've gotten all of that those muscle fibers activated, and they're fatigued to where you can't do another set, or another rep, I should say. That's okay, especially in the later reps. The later you go, the more likely that is to occur. So we're going to end that pull. And we're going to do biceps. So for this, I really like the preacher curl, which you can do with a bench or a chair, or really even a table. But I would have something under your elbow for padding for that. So I'm going to use a bench, but all you need is something to go underneath your elbow. So you're going to put your elbow at the top of the bench. We're going to use a dumbbell for this. So elbow at the top of the bench. We're working the bicep on this side. So from here, you're going to drop your hand to where your elbow is almost completely straight, and you're tapping the bench with that dumbbell and then pulling up. So we're gonna really lengthen that bicep muscle, create high tension in it, and I found that this is a really effective way of targeting my biceps without completely overwhelming them. So there are higher tension exercises like a bench curl that's laying on your back, but I found that this is a little bit more resilient of an exercise for me, so I can do higher volumes, which means I'm doing more sets for that bicep muscle. And 10. Now, if you are using a table, you want to have it so that your arm is more or less flat on the table. So, because the more you straighten that arm, the better off you're going to be. So make sure that the table doesn't get in your way and trying to straighten out that arm. I'm doing this at about a 60 degree angle. The lower the angle, the better off I would be, and the more intense it's gonna be. So that's one of my problems with standard curls is if I'm curling like this, my arm at the highest tension point is going in the same direction as gravity, so I have actually no tension on the muscle. I'd have to bring it forward a bit to create tension on that muscle. Now, with this, it forces my arm to be forward. That's why I really like the preacher curl for this exercise. I'm gonna give my forearms just a second, because my hands actually, I feel it here after doing those pull-ups. My forearms are starting to cramp a bit. So I'm gonna take a moment to let them relax before going into the second set of preacher curls. Now, an advantage of doing preacher curls, one arm at a time, is it's very easy to hit a high volume, which means a high number of sets in one workout in a compressed amount of time. Because while one side's working, this side's resting, and then vice versa. So if you're able to, you can go one exercise to the next very rapidly. So this is set number 2. Let's see how many sets we can get done. Really emphasize that bicep. Should really feel that right here in my upper arm. And same thing on the other side. Now we're actually working more than one muscle in this. There's the biceps or biceps brachii is one muscle. It's the muscle that runs right on the top here, but we're actually emphasizing the muscle underneath that too, called the brachialis. They both bend the elbow, but in this position, I can get a little bit more of that brachialis activation. So I'm building up that brachialis underneath. And that's set number 2. So as I work on that though, Not only am I making the biceps bigger, but it's also the muscle underneath it that pushes up on that bicep will actually make my whole arm look bigger too, where it's building up that arm size. So it's a great exercise for all your elbow flexors. We are working some of that bicep, working some of that brachialis, maybe a little bit of the forearm and that brachioradialis a little bit maybe, but more in these muscles right in here. All right, set number 3. Let's see how many sets we can do with this. How many do you guys think? Do you think we'll stop at 3 or keep on going? Let me know in the comments if you guessed correctly. Oh, and 7. I think that's about it for that muscle. So we're gonna finish out with 7 on the left side. 4, 5, 6, and if I need to, I'll use my other hand to help up for this last one, and 7. Oh, all right. So that got everything I could out of my biceps on that one. I got to a point where it could literally not lift anymore at 7. So we're calling it a day there. Got everything we could out of that. So we got some extra sets into that bicep muscle. If you want to be in control of what exercises we do, go ahead and join us next time. I'll be live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you want to jump in on being able to tell me what to do in the workout, be here live. Hope to see you guys there.